Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video, and today I'm going to talk about this game right here, Aliens Colonial Marines for the PlayStation 3. And you heard right, I'm going to talk about Colonial Marines and not Isolation. Isolation is the new release. This game right here is the 2013 release, developed by Gearbox and published by Sega. And this game right here is one of the most controversial games of the last generation for the PlayStation 3 and 360 because it's one of the worst reviewed games of that generation, and because of the overly negative feedback that the game had from both gamers and fans of the movie series alike. And before I talk about the game and how I played the game and who helped me survive through this journey, if you will, I'm going to give a brief rundown as to why this game got so many poor reviews and why this game is so controversial. Essentially what happened is Sega acquired the rights to make Alien games, and I believe in 2010 they released the first game out of the bunch, which was Alien vs Predator, I believe, and shortly thereafter this game was supposed to come out, and then 2010 went by, and then 2011 went by, 2012, and then finally in 2013 this game got released. And at one of the E3 conferences, or one of those events, Gearbox unveiled the game with a gameplay video, and that gameplay video looked amazing. The graphics were great. It looked like a top-notch, top-notch PlayStation 3 360 game. The gameplay looked pretty solid and fun. The performance of the game itself looked pretty smooth and solid. But what ended up happening is that the result was a completely different game. And obviously that's why the game reviewed so poorly. And I think what happened is that, from what I read from articles and things like that, is that somebody at Gearbox blew the whistle, and they basically unveiled that when Sega was funding the game, because they were the publishers, Gearbox used some of that money towards the development of Borderlands. I believe Borderlands 2 at the time was being developed. So they basically, Gearbox put their A-team towards the development of Borderlands, and on top of that they sent some of the money that Sega was paying them to make this game. And so Gearbox ended up outsourcing this game to smaller unknown developer studios that took care of different parts of the game. I think some smaller studios took care of the multiplayer mode, another smaller studio took care of the single player mode, another small studio took care of the netcode for the online, and things like that. So obviously the original budget of this game was not used at its fullest, and in a very unethical move, Gearbox used that money towards Borderlands, or part of that money towards Borderlands. So obviously you can imagine that's why the game kept getting delayed, and that's why the final product was so bad, because basically Gearbox just took these pieces that other smaller studios did and tried to glue everything together before the release of the game. And I believe there's an ongoing lawsuit between Sega and Gearbox because of this issue. And there's also another lawsuit of one of those big union lawsuits where Sega is being sued because they showed that gameplay footage during one of the E3s, and the final product is something completely different. So I think what Gearbox did is they just made a mock-up video of what they thought the game was going to look like, and then the game was something completely different. So that's the brief rundown as to why this game, it really is an unfinished game in all honesty. And Gearbox was not shy about it when they released this game, and it really is an unfinished product. But basically the story of this game, I don't want to get too much into it, but this game follows the events of the Aliens trilogy movie. So in a way it's a sequel. So if you're a fan of the movies, you're going to be familiar with some of the characters in the game, and some of the settings in the game. Now, me personally, I watched all Aliens movies, but way back in the day, so my memory was very fuzzy when I was playing this game, so I couldn't remember all the details. But I couldn't tell you if the story is good or bad, in all honesty. But supposedly, some of the script writers from the original movies were involved in the story of this game. So take that for what it is. And if you're a fan of the movie, maybe you wanna check this game out. But probably not. And I'll get into that. And in fact, let's just talk about the gameplay right away. Now, if this is such a bad game, if it's such a badly reviewed game, why the heck did I pick this game up, and why the heck did I play this game? You may be asking yourself that question. And what happened is, because the game was so bad, GameStop was clearing, basically having a clearance on the game, where you could buy the collector's edition for like $10. The collector's edition came with this like aliens, a statue, or a lot of goodies actually. And they were selling the standalone copy of the game for $5, brand new. So through the Another Gaming Podcast Facebook page, I found out about the sale. So I ended up picking up the game because out of curiosity, I just wanted to see how bad the game was. And what ended up happening is that a lot of the people that are, I guess, subscribed to the Another Gaming Podcast Facebook page, they also picked up the game. So they decided to do a game night, and it was a multiplayer game night. So we actually played, I would say, around 3 hours, maybe even more that night. And obviously the game is horrible, and I guess I'm gonna start talking a little bit about the multiplayer first and then delve into the single player. But the multiplayer in this game is a complete mess. The netcode is the absolute worst netcode that you will ever encounter in any modern game. You can tell that the game was put together in a rush. You can see there's a lot of like skipping and a lot of lag. For example, you could be shooting at somebody or at a xenomorph in the online multiplayer, and then all of a sudden the xenomorph is gone, and before you know it, he's right next to you. So everything is like broken, very laggy, very poor netcode. However, I do have to say that we had a lot of fun that night, and not because the multiplayer is fun, but because we were making fun of the game, and we all knew each other. We were actually on Skype, and in fact, I'm gonna leave a link to the video of that gameplay night because it was recorded. So we were having a lot of fun making fun of the game as we were playing, and it's a shame really, because the game, in my opinion, had potential, because the whole multiplayer mode basically pits together the the Marines, which are your regular humans that have weapons, and then the xenomorphs. You can switch between being a Marine and a xenomorph. And when you play as the xenomorphs, you obviously cannot shoot weapons, obviously, but you can run faster. You have this vision that allows you to see through the walls, and you can chase the Marines and try to kill them by jumping into them and things like that. So I think the concept itself could have worked if it was done properly, but unfortunately the multiplayer is a complete mess in this game, and I cannot believe when we were playing against some random people. Some people were level 50. I believe that's the highest ranked in the game. Some people were level 50, like no problem, which means that they play the multiplayer a lot. The multiplayer mode has a typical unlocking system where the more kills you get, the more objectives you capture, the more points you get, and you can level up your character and upgrade your weapons and things like that. So some of the concepts are there, but the execution obviously was a complete mess. Now, single player mode. Not content with playing the crappy multiplayer, I was brave enough to propose. I believe it was me, or maybe it was Steven the Laggy Gamer, one of the co-hosts of the Another Gaming Podcast. I believe it was either him or me. I can't remember. That we proposed to play the single player mode, and we asked for brave volunteers to try this experiment, and we were joined by Doomwave's Chance, which is another co-host of the Another Gaming Podcast, and Ducky Doo Gaming, another fellow and friend, another friend of ours here in the YouTubes. So all four of us jumped into this adventure, and the game supports up to 4 people online, so we maxed that level out, if you will. And it was when we started playing the game, we already encountered a couple of problems. And the single player mode, just like the multiplayer mode, has a lot of problems. You're gonna encounter basically every possible technical issue in this game that you can imagine. Frame rate drops, screen tearing, stuttering, horrible animations, low textures, everything bad that you can possibly imagine in this game, you will find it. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room here. The glitches. This game, on top of being a horrible, performance-wise is a horrible game, the game has glitches that sometimes are close to breaking the game for you. And I'll get into those in a bit. But first, I want to say that when all 4 of us started playing the single-player campaign, I had the brilliant idea of asking to play in Ultimate Badass difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty in the game. And the other people were, a little bit reluctant to that. But we decided to play on Ultimate Badass, and it was funny because as soon as we started the single-player mission, and in our first encounter with the Xenomorphs, we got killed just like that. And we thought it was a bad idea, so we were like, let's give it one more shot. This is very hard, but let's give it one more shot and see what happens. And I think actually that helped in a way that we played in the hardest difficulty, because it allowed us to play a little bit more as a team, and we communicated instead of just goofing around and playing the lone wolf and just dashing through the levels. We actually had to kind of group together and play as a team as much as we could, and reviving each other, because that's one of the things in this game. You have to revive your teammates. You have a very short amount of time that you can go and revive your fallen teammate, which is a very useful technique, because if you're low on health, you can just shoot your enemy, because on Ultimate Badass there is friendly fire, so you can shoot your own teammates. But that's not a bad thing, because if your teammate is low on health, just shoot him, revive him, and when he gets up, he's gonna have full health. So we exploited that feature of the game quite a lot, because we were playing on the hardest difficulty mode. But yeah, the glitches in the game were just out of this world. And the first major glitch that we encountered that I thought it was hilarious was, I think the game has 11 missions, and we were playing mission, I think it was chapter 4 or 5. It was kind of like the middle of the game. There is this boss fight called the Raven, and when you reach the end of the level, you get to this arena type of area, which that's when you just know that the boss fight is going to take place in that arena-like setting, because it's the end of the chapter. So we got there, and we were getting attacked by all these xenomorphs, and we thought, okay, that's probably just the minions of the boss. As soon as we wipe this group out, we're gonna face the actual boss. And we just kept killing them over and over and over again. We kept reviving each other, playing as a team, and we kept killing them over and over, and to the point where we started running out of ammo. And then we all ran out of ammo in our primary weapon, which is your typical assault rifle and things like that. And we had to use our handguns. So we kept killing these xenomorphs. They just kept coming over and over, and to the point where I think 3 of us died. And obviously you only have a very short time frame to revive your teammates. So we got to the point where 3 of us died, and there was only 1 person alive left. I think it was Doomwaves. And so he was like, screw this, let's just restart the checkpoint and see what happens, because we ran out of ammo, we were all dead, and it was basically impossible. And as soon as he hit the restart checkpoint, we spawned at the arena where we were fighting the xenomorphs, and sure enough, the Raven boss was there. So basically what happened is that the game glitched, and for some reason the boss did not appear there. So we wasted like a good 10-15 minutes just trying to kill all the xenomorphs, and it turns out it was a glitch. And the Raven fight was the hardest by far in the game. I think even the final boss was cake compared to this Raven boss, and we died and retried that portion of the Raven fight for, I would say, close to 10 times. And it's funny because the only reason we beat the Raven is because the game glitched, but in a favorable way to us. What happened is we were in our 10th attempt, I think, of the Raven fight, and this boss got stuck inside a wall. So for the Raven fight, one of the people gets to use the power loader, I think it's called, which is this loader that you can use it as a weapon to inflict more damage. And so Doom Waves got into the power loader, and the Raven got stuck inside a wall. So he kept wailing at the Raven while Ducky, Steven, and we were trying to keep the Xenomorphs away from the power loader because they attacked that to destroy it. And we just kept the Xenomorphs away from the Raven, and Chan's Doomwaves, he was just wailing at this boss. And we beat him. We beat him using a glitch, if you will. And that's one of the many glitches in this game. And the worst part is that the game has a lot of glitches. The game has a lot of performance issues, frame rate drops, screen tearing, and all that. But the level design itself, like if the game was to be perfect without any of those technical issues, the game still would have been like a below average first-person shooter. Personally, I did not find any of the level designs to be anything breathtaking or anything like that. Very generic level design, in my opinion. It plays like a corridor first-person shooter, a modern corridor first-person shooter, where you get to a point, you get to a checkpoint, and you go from point A to point B. Not a whole lot of openness to explore the levels. Very straightforward, very generic, in my opinion. The graphics are a complete mess. Some of the textures take too long to load. The gunplay in this game is absolutely horrible, and I do have to say that may be due to the fact that we were playing online, but I would find myself shooting at a Xenomorph, and then my gun would be pointing at a different direction without me moving the stick or anything like that. So very glitchy, a lot of stuttering happening on the screen, but again, maybe that was due to the fact that we were playing online and there was some kind of lag. But the gunplay, extremely bad, like one of the worst gunplays. The feedback that you got from your weapons was just not good at all. In good games like Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein, or the Battlefield games, you become one with the weapon you're using. You really get to feel the weapon and the physics of the weapon, the weight of the weapon, the weight of the bullets as you shoot them, and things like that. This game, nothing. It was just like an amateur attempt to make a first-person shooter. So below average level design, gunplay horrible, frame rate problems, even frame rate problems during the cutscenes. The game had some pretty good looking CGI cutscenes in between each chapter, and like I said, they looked good, but even those had frame rate problems. Like, how can a CGI movie that all the game has to do is just read that portion of the movie file had frame rate problems? I could just not understand how they managed to screw everything up in this game. If I have to say something positive about the game, is the sound effects. If you are an Aliens fan, you would know that you will be familiar with some of the sounds when you use your radar. I forgot the exact name, but when you use the radar that tells you the position of a xenomorph, that it was a popular device in the movies. In the movies, the smart gun is there. The overall sound effects of the guns, of the character dialogue, it was pretty good, pretty decent, and very adequate for this game, as well as the soundtrack. So the sound effects, the soundtrack, I think they were good. But everything else, the gunplay, the gameplay, the graphics, the performance, just horrible. And obviously the overall enjoyment it's a mixed feeling because we had fun. And again, I'm going to leave links to the multiplayer game night with the AGP crew, and also a link to the last part of the single player when we beat the game in the ultimate badass difficulty, for you guys to see. We had fun. It's hard to explain this, but we had fun because we all knew each other. We were talking in Skype as we were playing the game, and we were just making fun of the game the whole time. So I think that's probably why we had fun. Kind of like poking a little bit of fun at this piece of crap game. And I do have to say that if you buy this game and play it by yourself, just don't do it. Because you're gonna end up hating this game a lot. And again, it's me personally, I can put myself through bad level design every now and then. I reviewed Resistance, Burning Skies for the Vita, which I thought it was a below average first person shooter. But the game doesn't have technical issues. However, this game right here, it's literally an incomplete game. It's an unfinished product, and rightfully so. It got basically destroyed by bad reviews, and hence why it's one of the most controversial releases of last generation. If you're curious about how bad this game is, sure, I'd say go for it if you can get it for under $5 just to have a good laugh at it. But again, if you really want to put yourself through the pain of beating this game, the single player campaign, get a group of friends, because that's basically the only way you're gonna find some kind of an enjoyment out of this. The single player campaign, around 10 hours, nothing too crazy. Your typical action game, and of course you have the multiplayer mode in there. But I had fun, but I cannot recommend this game a whole lot unless you're curious to see how bad this game is. But just overall, thank you to Steven the Laggy Gamer and Doomwaves from the Another Gaming Podcast crew for organizing this and for recording the footage. And also to a good friend of ours, Ducky Do Gaming, for providing the golden commentary during the both sessions of the multiplayer and the single player. So thank you guys. I had a lot of fun playing with you this game, despite its obviously shortcomings and all the glitches and whatnot. There's so many stories. I could really go on and on in this video and telling you guys about all the glitches we encountered throughout the game. But that's it for now. Alien Colonials Marine for the PlayStation 3. Very well deserving of all the hate and the bad reviews, unfortunately, because Aliens is a good movie series, and it would have been nice to have a good solid product. But that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.